ready? Okay,
right.
Without further ado, the much anticipated Richard Griffis.
So, a little bit about me. I currently work at French West Vaughan, and I've been there for roughly 3 years now. I actually started literally the week after I graduated from college, so I'm still kind of new, a little bit, still learning my way around. I went to East Carolina, of course in Greenville, Pirates, and I've been doing graphic design probably since high school, but I've always been into art, so even going all the way back to like elementary school, I like to draw, I like photography, so I pretty much like anything that's related to art and creativity. So, but to, I guess, kind of tell my story starting from college. So, like I said, I went to East Carolina, graduated 2012, and upon getting accepted into my program, like my last year of school, I began to, try to figure out, where do I want to live, where do I want to work, like what exactly I wanted to do with graphic design. So I became involved in AIGA. Are you familiar? I think you were at the port. Yeah. Okay. So I became involved in AIGA my senior year of college, and from there I was able to network and meet a lot of like other designers and just other creatives that were in Raleigh, since that's where I determined that I wanted to live. So I was pretty much like the only one from my school that would come to the monthly meetings. So I'd make that hour-and-a-half drive to Greenville, and so I was able to connect with a lot of people. And so I guess around portfolio review time, which when I was in school, they actually had it in March. I was going through my portfolio review, and one of my reviewers actually ended up being my boss. So my portfolio review was almost like an interview with him, which I didn't realize it at the time. But so after portfolio review, he called me in for an official interview, which that interview, I really didn't show any of my work. He just kind of wanted to get to know me, more of a personal thing to see if I would fit in the work environment there. So fast forward, I got the job and started working. Like I said, I graduated, and then the following week I moved to Raleigh, and I've been there ever since. So I started as a graphic designer, and then last year I was promoted to art director. So I'd say like past 3 years, like my design career has kind of moved very fast. Aside from what I do at French West Vaughan, I still do freelance work, and some of it is on my website. I'll pull up some of my projects. I'm still involved in AIGA, not as much, but I still try to be active. Actually, when I graduated, I was voted in as director of student programming. So, doing like what I'm doing now, I'd go to different colleges and universities and speak with their design students and give them advice and allow them to ask me questions and what have you. So I'll show some of my work. I'm sure you have looked at some of it probably already prior to me coming. So we actually helped them to rebrand. Initially, I think they had like a bug as a mascot, and so they wanted a fresher look, something a little bit more clean and not too playful, but still kind of fun. So me, along with 2 of my other co-workers, we kind of worked together on this project and developed the logo, developed the website for it, and actually recently we filmed a commercial for it, which they had me do a voiceover for, which I don't even like my voice, so I really didn't want to do that. But when you work in an agency, you do things solo, but a lot of times you do have to collab with your coworkers. And so I know when I was in college, my professors had us to work on projects together sometimes, so it kind of gave me that experience with having to collaborate with others and realizing that my idea may not always be the best idea. You know, sometimes your classmate or your coworker may have an idea that's better than yours, but that's the good thing about working in a group. You know, instead of one mind, you have 3 or 4 or however many people are in that group collaborating. And with this particular logo, we went through maybe 4 rounds of tons of just different options before they settled on this one. So some projects, you know, we can get the ball rolling quickly. Some of them take a little bit longer to finally flesh out that logo. Let's see. Because we do a lot of things for Raleigh. So here's another one of the projects that I worked on by myself, actually. So with this particular project, it's Experience at Downtown Raleigh. So Downtown Raleigh wanted to kind of freshen up their branding a little bit. So I think this particular project is the face of a lot of the expansion that they're doing over the next 10 plus years. As you can see, like they're building condos and bringing more businesses downtown, so they're really trying to expand it. So they wanted to have something, a logo to give it some life. So this logo represents downtown. The different colors just represents the different sections of downtown. The gaps in between the logo represent like the street, you know, the whole downtown grid. So I'll go down. And we had to develop just a little simple style guide, because we just developed the logo, but the rest of the branding, we handed it over to them. So, you know, we developed a style guide for them to make sure that they abide by the rules and, you know, use the logo appropriately. Let's see, what's something else? Oh. So this project here was actually a project I did as a student at East Carolina. There's a museum in Wilson, and as a class project, they brought us on to help them rebrand their museum. And so I think with this project, it was about maybe 10 of us who worked together on different aspects of it. And I ended up working on the logo, and mine was selected. So we, you know, wanted to bring some life to the museum because it's in downtown Wilson, and there's just not much going on there, unlike Raleigh. And so we wanted to do something playful, and so we decided to play off of tangrams, and they're like the little shapes that you, I think you use them in like math class. And so the idea was that those triangles would could form into any kind of object. And like as you can see here, we, you know, have the kids like blowing them as though they're confetti or whatever. And this was an idea of like a 3D sculpture that could be in the lobby of the museum or just somewhere throughout the building. But the bad thing about it, they didn't have the budget for this project, so it never saw the light of day. And so I just use it as a portfolio piece now because I really like what, as a group, we were able to come up with. And it could have been a cool project for them, but yeah, they just didn't have the money for it. So at French West Vaughan, we partner with Moe's, and the thing about Moe's is because they're a national company, they have different agencies in different areas working on things for them. And so we handle business for, or marketing for the Moe's in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and Wilson area. And so we didn't design the logo, of course, but for like different campaigns that they have going on, we will theme logos around that particular campaign. I know we did something for the Durham Bulls Stadium. They do movie premieres at the IMAX Theater for some movies that come out. I know right now we're working on something for the Avengers, but in the past we've done The Dark Knight, Hunger Games. When the new Spider-Man movie came out last year, we did some marketing with that. So it's pretty fun to, you know, pretty much have free range on projects like this where you can just, you know, be creative and have fun with it. Then there are some projects that are a little bit more structured, like we worked on marketing and PR for Edwards Kirby. John Edwards is a partner with this law firm. And so this one was a little bit more structured, of course. It's more corporate, you know, business, unlike some of the other ones that are a little bit more playful. But that's another thing I like about working at an agency. You know, you get a variety of work in there. Like, you know, some of our clients are restaurants. We have law firms. We did something for a soccer company at one point. And so we get a chance to just work on a variety of things, and that's one of the fun things I can say about working there. Because I know I have friends who work in-house, and so, you know, in-house means that you pretty much just do work for that one particular company, which I think both have their pros and cons, but agency life, I like it for now. The variety of work, the collaboration with my coworkers, and we're a smaller company, so it's only about 5 of us on the creative team. So, like I say, that gives us the ability to collaborate a little bit more on projects. Let's see. This is another project from college, actually. I kept a few of my projects from college on here because they were some of my stronger ones, and even today, 3 years later, a lot of them still hold up pretty well. So this particular project was another group project, and the idea was that we wanted to bring a farmer's market to campus, and so we had to do like a ton of research on the market. It wasn't just designing a look and feel. Like, we spent about, I don't know, a month just having to research farming and just different avenues of actually making this work on campus. And so in the end, I was able to design some really cool collateral. These were posters that had the look of screen printing. That was the kind of look that I was going for. We did T-shirts, which were pretty fun. This is a little invitation, bookmarks. So in the end, we were able to create a whole system of just really cool things surrounding this farmer's market. And these are just some of my logos that I've done. I know this one was for Marlborough's Museum. They were one of our clients at one point, and they were coming up on their 5th anniversary. Bad thing about this is that they actually didn't choose my logo, so they chose an in-house logo, which I wish I could pull it up, but it looked like clip art. And so that's another thing. Like, you know, clients, at the end of the day, they have the last say-so, and so for whatever reason, they didn't like what we did, and they wanted to bring it in-house. So their artist created something that, yes.
I was just going to say, sort of piggybacking on what you said earlier about the earlier project about research. I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought here, but can you speak a little more to the importance of research in these projects? Because you spend a lot of time researching before you even go into the design portion of it.
Yeah, so with a lot of our clients, I mean, we don't know everything about them, so you want to do your research so you can know your audience, know the company, and with a particular campaign, you want to kind of have a knowledge of the demographic, like who they're catering to. All that stuff is important because at the end of the day, I mean, you can have a really cool design, but if it doesn't cater to that particular audience, then it's just kind of useless. And so we have like brainstorming sessions where we will come together as creators, and we'll pull some of the PR people in as well, just to get an outside perspective on it, and brainstorm for 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it takes to get those ideas out there. But yeah, research is very important because it allows you to know who you're working with and know what direction to go in with your creative. So even in college, our teachers, especially in our last year, they got us more into researching before just jumping right into the design. So it was good practice for me, and it I still use it to this day. And I know I've had 3 bosses in 3 years, which doesn't sound that good, but things happen. But each of them had their own method of brainstorming, and so it's been kind of cool to see how each of them tackle that research aspect of a project.
Looking at the Marbles
Mhm.
logo, it's disappointing they didn't choose that one, because when I think about Marbles, I think that's a great place to have a kid's birthday party, like a 5-year-old's birthday party.
Right.
So this, I think this is a lovely logo treatment.
Thank you. And yeah, we were playing off of the whole idea of it being a birthday instead of anniversary. It kind of relates more to kids when you make it a birthday party. I may be able to pull up the logo that they ended up choosing. Let me see if I can Google that real quick. Did you?
Yeah, I think so.
Let me see. Yep, that's it. Let me see if I can pull it up here. It's
Marvel's 5th birthday party is all it was.
That just goes to show you that, sometimes when you guys work on projects and feel really strongly about your idea, you're not alone.
so that compared to, let's see.
It's almost like they kind of took your idea.
They did. So what ended up happening was, when they decided to take it in-house, I mean, we had already sent them, PDFs of what we worked on, and so yeah, they pretty much kind of took our idea and made it worse. But yeah, but like I said, it's good for me because I'm able to use it in my portfolio. So, sucks for them. Yes. Oh, you're fine.
You still get paid for all that, or how?
Yeah, so how it works in agency life, at the beginning of a project, you estimate how many hours it's going to take for a particular project, and so they still have to pay. So regardless of whether, they went with our logo or not, we had spent time on it, so they had to pay us for that time. So yeah. Oh, the joys of,
Contracts come in.
yes. And even on a freelance side, like, it's good to have some sort of contract, even if it's just something very simple. Like, I don't think you need like a 10-page contract. Just something binding between you and the client to protect you and to protect them. Because I've had friends who have worked on things for people and not been paid for them. But the way I work is, of course, you sign a contract, and at the beginning of the project, you pay 50%, which is like a deposit. So that kind of locks them in, because most people, if they pay half of something, they're not just gonna continue with the project unless, it's something that they can't control. But yeah, so you pay 50% up front, and then once you have approved everything, before I send you any final files, you pay the remainder, and then I send you your files. That way I can, make sure I get compensated. Yeah.
So is that 50% based on the estimated time, or you get, is it by the hour, or,
So a lot of times, depending on the project, I don't do hourly. Like for logos, I just have like a flat fee. But here recently, for larger projects that are more pieces than just a logo, it's like full out branding, I do hourly. And it's been difficult trying to figure out what a good hourly rate is, because at my company, we charge clients $150 an hour. But I'm not going to charge, as a freelancer, I'm not going to charge, especially a small business, that much. So it's been kind of tricky trying to figure out, well, what's a good median rate to charge so that I'm compensated, but I'm not like, draining them, because I'm all about trying to help people. And so, especially like smaller companies or friends or, whomever. So I try not to hit people over the head with a steep price, but you still want to get paid for what you're worth. So it's all about trying to find that balance, which I'm still trying to figure out after 3 years. So
So when you say like they pay a 50% deposit for the agency, so is that
Well,
estimated?
at the agency, so freelance, I charge 50% up front, and then the remainder when the project is done. But at the agency, like once they sign a contract, they actually don't pay until the end of the project, which sounds kind of weird, but because they're legally bound to the contract, we know that they're going to pay us. So to my knowledge, we don't do a 50% at French West Vaughan. But, with them being a large-scale company, I mean, they, want to make sure that they get paid for the work that we do. Any other questions about anything related to, maybe portfolio or websites or?
I really like your words.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
I like that you use Squarespace. We looked at it when we thought you were coming before, and I was like, I noticed it right away. I was like, that's a Squarespace site. Did you have to use, do you have a background in HTML, CSS, or did you just, I've never really used it. It's kind of drag and drop.
Yeah, so, and I can log in just to give you an idea what the back end of it looks like, if I can actually remember my login information.
So basically what I'm asking is, did you find it easy to use?
I did. Originally, my portfolio was on Cargo Collective. I don't know if you've heard of that. So it's another like similar portfolio website. When I was in college, that's what I used, because Squarespace wasn't around, I don't think, at that time. I can pull up my Cargo if it's still active. Because my Squarespace website, yeah, it is still active. So my Squarespace website is new as of November. So I hadn't updated my portfolio since I was in college, which is not that good. I mean, it's good to kind of keep your site updated, because you never know.
Oh, this is your old one?
Yeah, this is my old one. Yeah, it's very plain. I mean, it's to the point, but it got the job done. So as you can see, like, I have some of the same projects on there. Like, I know I carried this one, the museum one, and this one. But even so, like, I still like a lot of my college projects. Like, they were pretty fun to work on. Like, I know this, let's see if I can open it. We were given an article, each of us, well, there were 3 different articles, and we had to choose which one we wanted to lay out in booklet form, because this was teaching us all about laying out typography in the more editorial style. And so I think this was a junior year project, maybe. So the idea I had was to kind of do like a watercolor / like construction paper cutout sort of. Yes.
Pink is my favorite technique.
It almost looks like a kaleidoscope.
And landscape is my all-time favorite.
Really?
Project, yeah.
Nice. And so I wanted to go with that feel because, you know, like a lot of the plans you see kind of are laid out in this way, sort of, kind of. So that was my idea behind it. And it was a lot of fun working on this. All the textures and the colors. Like, I don't even remember how I did some of this stuff, to be completely honest. But just looking back on it, this was one of my favorite projects. And so it was actually printed and hand stitched. So that was kind of fun because I wanted to play off of the whole natural paper feel. So yeah, this was gosh, I didn't realize how long this was. But yeah, that was a fun project. But so yeah, I decided last year that it was time for me to update my website. So yeah, I went to Squarespace because I actually used Squarespace for another venture of mine, and so it's very easy to use. And they have templates, like base templates, and then you just take the template and you can customize it to however you want to have it. And that's what I like about it, because me not really having a strong background in coding, this was just more convenient for me. And that's another thing that a lot of people ask me as a graphic designer, like, do you have to know coding? Do you need to know all of that? I think it's kind of good to have some knowledge of it. Like, I have knowledge of it, but I don't have the ability to build a site from scratch and then do all the coding. Like, at my job, I design it, I make it look nice, and then we pass it off to another person who then, you know, does all the technical stuff behind the scenes. So with that, you still kind of have to know what works for the web, because what works for the web doesn't necessarily work in print. I know, like, a lot of gradients and a lot of textures, like that stuff doesn't work well for web. So stuff like that I really never even thought about, you know, I've learned to be cognizant of when I'm laying out a website. See if I can find one. Oh. So, Elevation Burger was one of our clients for a little while, and I helped in the design of the website. Let's see. We did a really cool thing with the. Let me see if I can find it. Where you can, like, build your burger. Let's see if I can. Come on.
The internet here is slow.
Okay, I thought it was like the site. I was like, oh. Let's see if I can find that. Maybe it's Border Online. It's been a while since I've looked at this site. So, let's see. Uh-oh. What? So I can't get to that function. Because I don't think, yeah, so Raleigh can't order online yet. So, yeah, but we did a really cool feature where you can build your burger online and it shows like, the burger actually, coming together, which is kind of cool. So with that particular feature, and I wish I really could show it to you, it kind of sucks. We had to photograph, every single piece. Matter of fact, all of this stuff on this website, to photograph, and so there were thousands of pictures. You don't want to, well, it's real, but you it's been under those lights and just sitting down, you don't want to eat this stuff. Well, I guess that leads me to my next thing. So a lot of times we're involved in the photography of the product. I know we have a whiskey brand that's one of our clients, and we recently did a shoot with cocktails, and so gosh, there were how many? I think there are 30 different cocktails, but we did different angles and different views, so in total, there are just hundreds of photos that you have to go through and select which ones you want to use for the website, retouch them. So it's a process, it's not just snapping a photo and clipping it out and throwing it on there. There's a process that goes along with that. But it's fun, you learn a lot about photography and about directing the shoot. And I don't drink, but my coworkers were able to finish off the drinks. So I guess that's a plus for some people. But I can say in my years at French Roast Vaughan, I've been there 3. I've learned a lot in 3 years. And you learn a lot in school. I feel like school kind of gives you a lot of the technical things. But I feel like once you get in the working world, it's hands-on. So, it's not just fake projects. These are real projects for real clients. So, you make mistakes, but you learn from them. And you don't want to learn the hard way. I know one of my first projects was a shirt design for one of our clients. And there was a misspelled word on it that no one caught. And they printed about 1,000 of these shirts. But luckily, the printer reprinted them for free because he said that they should have caught it, after reviewing. But things like that happen, you don't want them to happen because that can cost a lot of money had we had to repay to get those shirts reprinted. But yeah, I think, once you're in the working world, you learn so much more in addition to what you learn in school, which is, awesome. I've learned a lot about estimating hours for projects, budgets, stuff that you don't learn in school. But my boss now, she's very good about, putting me in that seat and having me to do things that I'm not fully comfortable with, but it's, teaching me, and I enjoy that because, whenever I do leave French Roast Vaughan, I take that knowledge with me wherever else I may go. So, overall, it's been a good experience. Any questions? Yes.
Do you ever see yourself starting your own business?
Actually, yes. Well, yes and no. I don't think I'd want to start an agency, but I eventually do want to get to the point where I can just be a freelance artist and just make my living that way, so that I'm working for myself and I don't have to report to anyone. Not that that's bad, but I've always had an entrepreneur mindset, so I just want to do my own thing. So that's why I say a lot of what I'm learning now is going to help me in the future when I finally do decide to venture on my own. But that's something that I eventually want to do, be in business for myself. Yes.
I was going to ask you about freelancing. I understand that the want to be on your own and have the freedom, and that you're learning some of the techniques that you need to carry on to being a freelancer. But do you find that most of your customers when you're freelancing are people through networking, or that you know a friend of a friend or anything like that? Or are you getting just people who find you?
A little bit of both now. So early on, it was, friends of friends, friends of family members. But now, and I think a lot of this has to do with just me working where I work, and LinkedIn has helped a lot. I will get emails from people whom I don't know, wanting me to help with a particular project. So I think it's one of those things where, over time, once your work is out there and other people start to see some of the things that you've worked on for a particular client, then, it helps to grow your business.
Because the second part of that question was, you have 2 different portfolios. Do people ever contact you, like somehow get a hold of you through your email from looking at your portfolios? And do you recommend a blog in addition to a portfolio?
So my cargo website is no longer active technically, because it redirects to my main website. But on my website, which I prefer people to contact me through that because of the email address, because of course me working in an agency, like I don't want customers or potential customers emailing me at French West Vaughan, because that's, you have to keep those two separate. But I think having a blog is not a bad thing. I don't have one. I want to start one, but I'm trying to find the time to do that. But I think having your work in multiple places isn't bad. Like I know people who utilize like Dribbble or what's another one? Behance.
Yeah,
so there are a few sites out there that allow you.
You can earn it, but that's for sale. I mean, it's not really a portfolio.
But you can like house your work on it if you wanted to. So, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having multiple portals to showcase your work. It's different ways to reach people. So.
Are you on Pinterest?
I do. It's more. It's more personal, but I do have like design boards on there.
I'm gonna follow you now.
Yeah. And like my Google Plus, I have one, but I don't really use it. I don't think anyone really uses their Google Plus. I use it so that I can log into my YouTube, but yeah, it's just there. Like I don't really.
LinkedIn is so good.
Yeah, LinkedIn, and I'll say that like LinkedIn is awesome. I look at LinkedIn as more of a professional Facebook almost. It's a good networking tool. I've made a lot of connections with individuals through LinkedIn, and also through like AIGA, like going to the meetings that they have once a month. Allows you to meet great people face to face. Like I said, that helped me a lot in the beginning, especially being new to Raleigh when I first moved here. Just having that network or group of people who were familiar with the area and who I could ask questions to made that transition a lot easier. So definitely try to get involved in that. They do a lot of cool things now that they didn't do when I first graduated from college. And I know we just recently had the portfolio review, I guess about 2 weeks ago, maybe. But yeah, they do a lot of really cool things. I think there's a studio tour coming up in Durham. I'm not sure exactly when it is, but that could be a 16th. Okay, because I know they did one in Raleigh maybe 2 years ago. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. But those things are good to go to because you're able to see the different agencies and companies that are in this area who could potentially be a future employer. So, any other
questions? Anybody interested in mobile applications? Do you do anything with mobile applications?
So we don't really do much with mobile applications. The most mobile we do is more so with websites, making sure that they what is responsive? Yeah, that's the word. That's about as much mobile as we do. But there are companies or agencies out there that kind of cater more towards that digital realm. But yeah, we don't do much with mobile apps.
Any other questions?
What year are you guys? Like senior, like last year or?
Last year.
Oh, okay.
I graduated this year with my graphic design, and I still became like fine art.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you guys have websites up already?
Yeah,
Okay.
Behance and Wix.
Okay.
This is free. I
Yeah.
didn't know about Squarespace. I'm switching to Squarespace.
Well, Squarespace, it's $10.
It's half off for students.
Is it?
It's,
Yeah.
so I
Oh.
paid 60, but it's usually 120 for the year. So I
For the
paid
year.
60 for the year. So with use your like type email.
Huh. Okay. I know I pay per month. I don't know why I just didn't do the whole year, but it's $10 a month if you, which I guess it would be cheaper because you're a student, which is still not that bad. I mean, compared to hosting, like if you were to build a site from scratch, it can be kind of pricey. So I think like $10 a month is not that bad. And I think Cargo for the year it was maybe 90. I think I can't remember. But I mean, I think Behance and sites that are free. Like if you can find something that's free, I'd utilize it because there's nothing. Elance?
Yeah, it's for freelancers. I don't know if it's free or not, but it's where you put yourself out there when you're a freelancer to get jobs.
No, I've never heard of that.
I just found it for school projects. We had to look up how to
I'm gonna write that down.
how to get jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And Elance was one. There were a whole bunch of them I've never heard of. That's the one I found was Elance. So that's probably ideal. You might even want to put some stuff on there. But I don't know if it was free. Not that it matters. I mean, if you had to pay $10 a year or something to post your resume or your portfolio, basically, I wouldn't see the harm in that.
Oh, no.
I mean, get more exposure.
Exactly. I know I have a Behance account, but I don't have any work on it. I have a Dribble, but I don't have
I look at that all the
anything
time.
on it. Me too. The Dribble and Behance are two of the
I gotta look at Dribble.
sites that I go to get like a lot of inspiration. I know Dribble is more so logos, but they have some really cool stuff on there. But yeah, Behance is one of my go-to sites for inspiration.
We can have a secret code for one. Any more questions?
Oh, what time is this class over?
4:50.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I don't cause anyone to be late.
No, we want you to stay as long as, we want
Okay.
to keep you as long as we can. So, all righty, well, if you guys want to stick around, you have time for questions
Oh, yeah.
after everything? Okay, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For being here. We've been looking forward to it. So-
Great.